The Council laughed at human combat skills. Then the entire squadron vanished. The crystalline walls of the Galactic Defense Council chamber resonated with what could only be described as laughter, though the sound varied wildly among the 12 species present. The Karathi made a clicking noise with their mandibles, while the gaseous Etherians pulsed with amused colors. At the center of their mockery sat Commander Sarah Chen, representing the newest member of the galactic community. "Humanity? Combat specialists?" wheezed Admiral Vextar, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Your species has been spacefaring for what, 50 standard cycles? We have been perfecting warfare for millennia." The holographic display showed Earth's military assessment scores. Dead last in every category that mattered to the Council. Shield, technology, plasma weaponry, faster-than-light tactical systems. The humans excelled only in what the galaxy considered primitive metrics. Small unit tactics, improvisation, and something called psychological warfare that most species couldn't even comprehend. "Perhaps," suggested Counselor HFY, her serpentine form coiling with condescension, "the humans could serve in logistics. Moving supplies requires little creativity." Sarah remained motionless, her face betraying nothing. She had expected this. Earth's generals had warned her that humanity's approach to warfare was fundamentally different from the galactic standard. While other species had evolved beyond the need for ground combat, developing increasingly sophisticated ship-to-ship engagement protocols, humans still trained for every conceivable scenario. It was, according to the Council, inefficient. "We appreciate the Council's assessment," Sarah replied evenly. "However, we believe our methods have merit." This triggered another wave of alien laughter. Admiral Vextar gestured to the tactical display showing the Void Sector, where an unknown hostile force had been systematically dismantling Council patrols for months. "Merit?" he scoffed. "Young species, our best tacticians have degrees in warfare from the Academy of Strategic Sciences. Our Admiral Crixnuth has won 17 major engagements using the classical formations. Our technology is predictable," Sarah interrupted quietly. The chamber fell silent. No one interrupted an admiral. Ever. "I'm sorry." Vextar's eye stalks turned toward her with dangerous focus. "Your technology, your tactics, your formations, they're all documented, studied, and refined over millennia, which makes them predictable to any enemy that's been observing you long enough." Sarah stood, her hands clasped behind her back in a distinctly human gesture of military bearing. "Permission to propose a demonstration?" The Council exchanged glances, or the equivalent among their species. This was unprecedented. Finally, Counselor HFY's curiosity overcame her skepticism. "What kind of demonstration? Give us a combat scenario, something your best have failed at. Let one human squadron attempt what your armies could not accomplish." The debate that followed lasted hours, but eventually, arrogance won. The Council selected the most impossible mission available: infiltrating the Hegemony Nexus, a heavily fortified enemy staging area that had repelled 7 major assaults. The facility was protected by overlapping energy shields, automated defense networks, and a garrison of elite troops. 3 full battle fleets had been lost attempting direct assault. 1 squadron, Admiral Vextar announced with obvious satisfaction. 12 human fighters against a fortress that has withstood our greatest armadas. When you fail, and you will, humanity accepts its place in logistics. Sarah nodded. "And when we succeed?" The aliens laughed again. "Then we'll discuss combat assignments." Captain Marcus Rodriguez had spent 15 years in Earth's Special Forces before humanity reached the stars. His squadron consisted of pilots, marines, engineers, and hackers, a composition that baffled alien observers. Standard galactic protocol separated roles distinctly. Pilots flew, soldiers fought, technicians repaired. Humans, it seemed, trained everyone to do everything. "Remember," Marcus addressed his team as their unmarked ship approached the Nexus. "They're expecting a frontal assault, shield-breaking weapons, formation flying, honor duels between ace pilots. They've probably never seen infiltration." The plan was absurd by galactic standards. Rather than announcing their presence with weapons blazing, the human ship broadcast a distress signal in perfect hegemony frequency codes, intelligence gathered by months of intercepting enemy communications. They claimed to be a damaged patrol returning from the outer rim. The Nexus, following standard protocol, lowered a section of its shields to allow the friendly vessel to dock. What happened next would be debated in military academies for generations. The humans didn't deploy according to any known tactical doctrine. Instead of moving as a unit toward strategic objectives, they scattered throughout the facility like a virus. Some posed as maintenance workers, others as injured crew members seeking medical attention. They wore no uniforms, carried concealed weapons, and seemed to vanish into the civilian population of the station. The hegemony defenders, trained to recognize and counter traditional military formations, found themselves fighting ghosts. Lights went out in critical sections, but not from weapons fire. Someone had simply accessed the power grid. Communications failed, but the jammers weren't external. They were inside the system, uploaded like a disease. 2 hours after docking, Captain Rodriguez stood on the Nexus command deck, accepting the surrender of a garrison that outnumbered his forces 50-1. They had never seen the enemy coming because the enemy hadn't come as an army. They had come as 12 individuals who thought like soldiers, acted like civilians, and struck like assassins. The fortress that had withstood fleets fell to a dozen, humans who never fired a shot in anger. The council chamber was silent when Sarah Chen returned to deliver her report. The holographic display showed the Nexus under human control, its defenses intact, its garrison captured rather than killed. Admiral Vextar stared at the impossible tactical readout for several long minutes. "How?" he finally asked. "We didn't fight your war," Sarah replied. "We fought ours." The truth, she didn't tell them, was simpler than they could imagine. While other species had evolved beyond deception, beyond improvisation, beyond the messy realities of ground combat, humans had carried their evolutionary brutality into space. They were the only species that still understood war not as a chess match between technologies, but as a psychological battle between minds. The Council had laughed at human combat skills because they measured the wrong things. They counted ships and shields and weapons, but they had forgotten the most dangerous weapon of all: unpredictability. As Sarah left the chamber, she heard Admiral Vextar behind her, quietly updating humanity's military assessment. In every category that mattered to the Council, humans still ranked near the bottom. In the new category, he added, labeled simply effectiveness, they ranked first. The galaxy would never laugh at human combat skills again.